Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure diorama review. Today, we're going to look at the Extreme Sets Building Pop-Up 7.0. Now I have all the different buildings that Extreme Sets has made. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. In fact, I have 2 of each one. These are fantastic for building my overall action figure city, world building, generic action figure dioramas, and buildings. So let's take a look at the packaging. As you can see, Building 7.0 pop-up diorama. Here's some of the outside of the building. Here's an example of what the piece is going to look like. One side, Building 7.0 pop-up diorama. There is a barcode in case that happens to help anybody. On the back side, Extreme Sets pop-up diorama. So no further ado, let's open it up. And like I said before, I got 2 of each of the previous Extreme Sets buildings, and this one is no exception. I'm going to be building 2 of the Building 7.0. Alright, now that I got this thing out of the package, here it is laid out on the table. You get a large rooftop, a small rooftop, several wall panels, and you also get a hallway, staircase, and some signs. In this video, we're going to take a detailed look at the assembly. We'll put this thing together, and then we'll check it out with some other dioramas and different various action figures to see how it fits in both scale and style-wise. So, let's get started. On a side note, I'm going to have to make a comment about their packaging. This thing's pretty big and heavy, but both of my Building 7.0s, they're quite bent and warped. The wall panels, the roof especially, very concerned how it's going to build. One of them even has a tab broken off. If it doesn't build properly, I'm definitely going to reach out to them for a replacement. But both these are warped to high heaven. The roof, which really needs to be a flat surface in order for your figures to stand up, very bent. I am very disappointed with this. We'll see how it turns out. Now let's look at the instructions. There's no way I'll be able to build this without the instructions, plus my prior experience with these type of building dioramas. You've got a checklist of everything that comes in, and we'll start with step 1 to build the large rooftop. So we've got the large rooftop. It's folded up like so, and you can see what I mean. It is just bent up. I don't see how that's going to turn out flush, but we'll see how it turns out. So unfold this thing, lay it down flat. Maybe I should put something heavy on top of this for a while. Really unimpressed with how it's looking right now. And it's not even how it's popping up here. That'll correct itself. But it's how it's sort of folded in areas like this that really sucks. I'm probably going to take something heavy, maybe some books or something, put on here for a couple of hours. So I decided to go ahead and build one of these things anyway. I'll have something heavy on the other one. Biggest concern here is here where it's extra bent. I'll try my best to sort of correct that, but very frustrating. These things being flat and flush is very important to the assembly, and they have definitely screwed this up in the packaging. And since both of them are like that, it seems like it's a widespread issue. I imagine if I get a replacement, it'll be the same way, but who knows. So we'll start off by folding all these pre-creased areas. Fold them over like so, push very firmly. The more you do now, the better it'll be in the long run. Fold it again, crease it here, push down very firmly. You're going to want to do that on all 4 parts. Now that we have all 4 sides pre-creased, the next part's kind of complicated. So you're going to want to sort of fold this over. It's going to have these little tabs here that will kind of tuck into place with the other parts. Now as this one goes down, you're going to also have to fold this one. And these little tabs, this one's going to have to go inside where this one tucks, and this one's going to have to go inside where that one tucks. Like I said, a little bit complicated. So this one goes under here as you fold it over. And then this one is going to go under there as you fold it over. These tabs will kind of hold into place. You kind of got to get all 4 pieces in there. And as I recall, it's not going to be perfect. So just make sure this tab gets tucked inside of here, then this one will get tucked inside of here, and you do that all the way around. Now I've got all the tabs sort of folded in. Now you can see this thing's not exactly flush. Now that sucks. I am going to put something heavy in the middle here and see if I can straighten this out at all. Now, these tabs should sort of fit into place, the slots here. Like I said, it's not perfect. This one keeps sort of poking out. In a perfect world, I wouldn't do that, but it really doesn't matter. No one's going to see the interior here, and the walls of the building will push it back out. But everything should be sort of locked into place in the corners. That's fairly important. Big complaint here. I need a flat rooftop. Come on, Extreme Sets. With the price, you guys should package these things a little bit better. Pulled out a bunch of Batman graphic novels from the shelf. Gonna lay them on this rooftop and the other building that I'm assembling. Revisit this in a little bit. Now the other one is bent pretty badly. Here's the middle crease, and here's where it's bent to the packaging. Gonna cause some issues there. It was able to flatten out more or less than the other one. We'll see how this one goes. And when I say crease this thing hard, I mean it. Take the piece, fold it in, push hard and firm, lock this thing into place. The better you do it now, the better the building will be. Do the same on the next crease. Push very hard and firm. Now to assemble the smaller roof. It's pretty much going to be the exact same thing. I'm going to have to point out one of the tabs is ripped off of mine. That does piss me off. I didn't do that. It came that way. It's going to make it less secure, and it should be okay with the interior walls pushing against the rooftop. But frankly, that sucks. And to add insult to injury, exact same thing on the other smaller rooftop. Tab is ripped off. Come on, Extreme Sets. This doesn't work. I'm going to be reaching out for sure. So you're going to want to flip this thing upside down, just like before. Fold across the pre-creased areas. Do it very firmly. Once again, that damn missing tab here should look like this. Do it again on the middle. Do all four sides like that. Now that I've creased all the corners, next, just like the other one, we're going to fold it in. These tabs will go outward, and then these tabs will go inside. You almost have to do it all at once. Two sides here going in, then we'll put these over. The tab will have to go inside here. It is complicated. If you do it right, it comes out good, but it's easy to mess it up, that's for sure. Fold it over. Each one's going to be about like that. So I had a really bad experience putting this one together. Another one of the tabs ripped off. It's just not nearly as secure as the larger rooftop. Frankly, that sucks. I'm contemplating taking a stapler and stapling it here. I don't think tape will be a long-term solution enough. Very disappointing. And don't forget, I've had experience doing this 6 other times with the previous buildings, so I know what I'm doing here. I folded up the second small rooftop. Maybe slightly better result, but the same problems, just not tucking into place like it's supposed to. The rip tab sure as hell doesn't help. Now to assemble the staircase. You've got a bunch of different steps here, a whole bunch of this size step. Let's move those out of the way for right now. Here's going to be the base of the staircase. Now the white will be on the outside, the cardboard on the inside. This area here needs to be flat on the bottom. So fold against these creases very firmly. Get it to where it's standing up about like this. It won't be perfect. It's going to be falling over. It'll be a lot more stable when you add the steps in there. We'll start with the bottom step here. It's one shaped like this. Of course, the colored side is going to be on the outside, brown on the inside. So it's going to kind of fold on top like so. Crease it very firmly on each of the different folds. Then you'll take your staircase, put the bottom step in here. It's going to wrap around where this tab is going to tuck into that hole there. Now we have the bottom step onto the staircase. It sort of just pops out of place. That'll be a little bit more stable when you add the other steps. So you'll take this huge pile of other steps, fold each one across the different creases, and then you'll add them step by step. Second step here is a unique piece. There's only one of them. Once you get that in, use all the repeat pieces to go all the way up the top for the middle steps. Notice the bottom step is now a lot more level, secure, and flush. Here's a staircase with all the middle steps attached. We only have the top step left. It's very secure, stable, durable at this point. Now we'll take this last step here, crease it on all the different appropriate places. Get rid of some of that excess cardboard, and we'll take this, pop on top, and it's going to wrap all the way to the back there. Then, giving us the complete staircase. Pretty stable. Now you'll want to take the exterior of the staircase. This part's really simple. Flat piece of cardboard, pop it open, sort of fold it the other direction, lay it flat. Then you simply have it here. Drop a staircase inside of it. Take your staircase, drop inside. It'll take a little work to get in there just right. Some of the steps are coming undone as I do this. Once finished, it'll look about like this. Should be pretty stable at this point. That way when you see through the doorway, it's going to look good and have a finished hallway. Now we really have the hardest part done already. Next step is going to be to take these 4 wall pieces. The larger wall pieces will be for the bottom half of the building. Like I said, mine are a little bit warped, not 100% flush, but it's not too bad. It's going to be important you fold it along the crease here. Do it very firmly. That'll expose these 2 holes here and allow the tabs of the other wall piece to go inside. I'm going to look at the Extreme Sets website and make it just like they have it pictured, but it's customizable, interchangeable. You can make it in any order you want. Now I've got the 4 walls attached. You can see we've got some Asian lettering up here. There's a doorway that you can actually pop out. I'm going to choose not to do that. Windows on the other side. The back, we've got a doorway here, another one that you can pop out. Some more lights and windows. Now to attach these larger rooftops. I hope I've been sitting long enough. Now it's going to look about like this. I'm actually really pleased with how it's turned out. Rooftop is very flat, very flush. Maybe it's a combination of it being stretched out with the wall pieces. Maybe me laying it flat with books on top for a while helped. So far, I'm not feeling like I need a replacement, but we'll see how the smaller roof comes out. Pretty stable. You can move this thing around. No problem. Now to assemble the 4 walls for the smaller piece of the building that goes on top of the base of the building. It's pretty much like a 2-story building. Exact same concept. Walls are a little bit smaller. Crease these tabs inward. And then fold these in very firmly. You'll insert these tabs into these holes here. And now we have these pieces put together. Front, side, back, and the other side. Now you're going to want to attach this little sign to the side of the building. Fold it on the creases. It's really about all you have to do. Then you'll insert this into the side here, a little tab that came out. Now you have this little sign or advertisement on the side of the building. Now I attach the rooftop. Actually works out pretty good. The rip tabs, all my concerns. Seems flush on the top. Very sturdy and secure here. Even with all those issues, it's like there's fail safes, double and triple ways to secure itself. Yeah, it could be a little better, but the end result is pretty much exactly the same. Rip tab or not, it's going to work great as a building. Don't get me wrong, there are some issues because of warped walls. You can see the bottom there. Noticeable gap. That stuff sucks and is really annoying. But I'm still happy to have this building. Quality could be a little better though. Now the second top of the building didn't come out quite as good. Yes, the top is nice, flush, and flat. But because of the rip tabs, we got some issues here looking pretty bad. You can see where it's kind of sticking out here. I can probably get a stapler and fix that. It shouldn't look too bad. I really don't like this. I am probably going to reach out and see if they can replace at least one of these things. Maybe once this video is posted, I'll send a link to that too. Now, in order to complete the building, you have to drop in the staircase and the hallway. Let's go ahead and remove the roof to do that. You're going to want to take the staircase here and then drop it in near the door. That way, if you decide to punch out the door, you can see in and see up the staircase. And as much as I prefer not to punch out these doorways, one of them sort of came open when I was assembling it at one of the two buildings. I was able to put it back and it sits in place okay. But here's sort of how it would look with the doorway missing. You can see up the staircase. Now you do see the gray on the other side of the wall. At least the brown of the cardboard back there. Kind of hurt the aesthetic. I feel like the staircase should have just something at the top there so you don't see that brown. And then the absolute last piece is going to be this sort of hallway here. Very similar to the staircase. Just pop it open, fold to the other side. On the inside here, it's simply going to be a hallway. Here's an image of the hallway through this open door. It looks okay. At least you don't see the brown on the backside there. Now, the way these things are supposed to be displayed, you can have either the staircase or the hallway at the front open door and the other one on the backside. Personally, I'm going to keep the door on top of the outside. It'll keep my building nice for the outdoor city diorama type thing. It does depend on what I'm doing with the diorama at the time. Might remove it, depending on what type of photography I'm doing. And now it's fully assembled. Here's a smaller building on top of the larger building, making it a two-story building. You have a lot of different display options with these things. Here's the front side as it's intended. You can see we've got the sign on the right here. Here's the right-hand side of the building. Got the windows at the bottom, sign on the top. Here's the back side, another punch-out doorway at the bottom. And here's the left side. Got some windows and lights at the bottom. Overall, it's a pretty cool diorama, but there's definitely some quality issues. All over the diorama, both on the top and the bottom, we have gaps like this. That is just awful. And it's all because this thing was not flat and set properly. It's warped and curled a little bit. We have a ton of these all over the place. Now, even if it was laid flat, you'd expect to have a little gap like this, just kind of the way it is. But you have these additional gaps that just look awful. Yeah, they're not super noticeable, but if brought to your attention, you'll never be able to unsee them. Like I said, here's another one in the top part of the smaller building. And another one. It's pretty much like that on all four sides of the smaller building. You push them in, but it just doesn't stay. It's because this entire thing was just sort of curled. Here's an example of that issue at the bottom. Only seemed to happen on one of the four sides, but still, it looks bad. Might be able to prop it against something or wedge into the carpet so it won't be this way. And maybe I can take this thing fully apart, lay some books on it for like a week and see if that fixes it. But damn, it's a pain in the ass. Now that we've got this thing fully assembled, let's check out the measurements. We'll start off by just measuring the bottom part of the building. From bottom to top, about 14.5 inches tall. As far as how wide it is, just a little over 19 inches wide. It should be the same depth as it's a perfect square. Yeah, just a little bit over 19 inches deep. Now let's measure the smaller part of the building, the top half, which you can display separately by itself if you want to. Now, as far as how wide it is, about 15 inches wide. Also going to be about 15 inches deep. And as far as the height, about 14.5 inches tall. And now to measure the two pieces together. This is how it's intended to be displayed, and it is massive. It'll work for 6, 7 inch, probably even 8 inch figures. Now the bottom, of course it hasn't changed. It's going to be 19 inches wide, 19 inches deep, and then as far as how tall it is, about 29.5 inches tall. Now let's check out the action features of this thing. Now it's just a regular building. 4 walls, roof. You can take the roof off and play inside, but the inside is not finished. I really wish they would finish inside these buildings. Could really take this to another level. They've got plenty of rooftop surface, a lot more on the bottom building, and some on the top. You got room to put your figures on both places at the same time. They can be at the bottom, looking up, at the top, looking down, sniping at people, fighting up top, grappling, an endless amount of possibilities here. I love action figure city dioramas, world building. This will fit in great to my Gotham City, maybe part of Chinatown. You can display this building in different ways. I personally just want to make it a 3-dimensional building for my action figure world, but you can unfold it, have it displayed like this. Makes it almost like a little strip. And as far as the other action features go, we looked at this before, but here's the staircase dropped in with the doorway, and then here's the hallway dropped in with the other doorway. So I went ahead and switched to another table for the rest of this review. I needed more space to put the 2 dioramas together. I went ahead and swapped out some of the parts on the top, so I had the sign both on the inside of the 2 buildings, which look pretty cool when I add some street between them. Now you do have the ability to display the 2 larger buildings together. Nothing on top. Could be 2 buildings next to each other or 1 larger building. If you choose to do this, it's got a very large rooftop play and display area. So in turn, you could do the same thing with the 2 smaller top parts of the building, but it has a much smaller rooftop area. And if you just bought 1 set, you could put them next to each other, have 2 different buildings in your overall action figure world. Or if you're like me and you got 2 of these buildings, you could potentially display them as 4 separate buildings in your action figure world. From that point of view, it's kind of a good bang for your buck. And hell, if you really wanted to, you could put them together and make it a 4-story tall building. Something massive. But I personally plan to display them like this, next to each other. We'll see. Maybe I'll display them like this, pushed up against each other, like it's one much larger building. Gives you a larger rooftop at the top with the 2 smaller buildings. There are almost an endless amount of options how you can display this. So I had added some street pieces between the 2 buildings. Now we have 2 buildings either side of the street. These street pieces came with some Diamond Select Gotham figures. The more basic Toys R Us versions, they had a diorama base, a sidewalk piece, or a street piece, and they're all interconnectable, which is really cool. I got a bunch of these things, and they're great additions to my overall action figure world building. Now let's go ahead and compare it with some of the other Extreme Sets building dioramas. We'll start off with the first one and work our way up to the 7th one here. Now I do collect a bunch of other dioramas, action figure city, world building, etc. Diamond Select Toys made some really nice ones with the Ghostbusters line. I got stuff from Toys, Z-Bob Toys, 12 World. My action figure city is fantastic. And don't forget those NECA street scene dioramas. There were not a lot of options 10 years ago, and there are a ton more now than there used to be. And I can't wait to see what the future holds. Here's the Extreme Sets 7.0, next to the Extreme Sets 1.0, the one that started all with the buildings. The rooftop was a completely different design. This one went sort of inside and deeper. They've definitely improved on the rooftop design over the years. I love how the first one had sort of an Extreme Sets, collectibles, toys, and hobby store at the bottom. Thought that was a really nice touch. And here it is, next to the Extreme Sets Building 2.0. A little bit shorter, but a pretty cool diorama. It's got the pizzeria, a little overhang at the front. Then, next to the Extreme Sets Building 3.0, this one is sort of like a warehouse type building. Has the same rooftop as the first one. Goes deep inside. And now, next to the Extreme Sets 4.0, another regular building. Looks like an Asian theme from Chinatown. And here it is, next to the Extreme Sets Building 5.0. This is an arcade building, and it has a billboard up top. I added my own Bud Light logo. It was sort of a blank billboard that you could customize yourself. And finally, here it is, next to the Extreme Sets Building 6.0. This is a liquor store with another building on top. Has a motel logo. Fantastic for your action figure city. And while not one of the Extreme Sets traditional building dioramas, this is an Extreme Sets cabin pop-up. Another fantastic diorama from Extreme Sets. And this one is finished on the inside, giving you a ton of different options for this thing. Now I've got to figure out how to incorporate these Extreme Sets 7.0 into my action figure room. I made a large Gotham City, but it's quite cramped at this point. Here's an old clip from when I did the video on the Extreme Sets 6.0 building, how I incorporated that in my action figure world. Things have definitely changed since then. It's a little tighter in there. I'm going to have to do some serious rearranging to make this work. Even though it's just temporary, here are these buildings taking some places in my overall action figure world. Like I said, this is not where they're going to be in the long run, but where I've stuck them, at least temporarily. 1/12th action figure city. Now let's check them out with some action figures. I'm going to put a bunch of different action figures from a wide variety of different lines, starting with some of the large action figure lines I collect, and work my way smaller. That way you know if these buildings will accommodate what you collect, both scale and style-wise. Honestly, they're going to work with almost anything. Smaller 1/12 scale figures like Marvel Legends, all the way to your larger stuff like McFarlane DC Multiverse. And honestly, even larger 8-inch stuff like Mega would probably work here too. Maybe not style-wise, but scale-wise, yes. Here are these Extreme Set dioramas, with some Jack-specific wrestling figures on the left, then some DST or Diamond Select toys, then with some McFarlane toys, and finally some DC Direct and DC Collectibles figures. And here's some NECA figures on the left, then some Mattel wrestling figures, and then some Jazzwares AEW wrestlers, and some Mezco 1/12 collective figures on the right. And here are these dioramas with some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures, some Mafex figures, some Hasbro Marvel Legends, and finally, some SH Figure Arts action figures. So anything from the smaller 6-inch scale to the larger 7-inch scale, and even bigger, will work just fine next to the Extreme Sets building dioramas. So overall, these are going to be some fantastic addition to my action figure city. Now, they look great. Regular buildings, not very cartoonish. Scale is phenomenal. Action features are minimal, but that's not what I got them for. I got them for some stagnant display pieces of my action figure world, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Now, if I were to rate these things, I'd probably give them an 8 out of 10 if it weren't for the quality control issues. The quality control issues really suck. In Extreme Sets, some of the stuff will come in a little bit warped, but this is the worst I've ever received from them. I'm going to be reaching out and letting them know how displeased I am. I probably won't even ask for a replacement, as these will serve their purpose. I don't know. Just very disappointing that some stuff was ripped. A lot of stuff's warped and curled. It does definitely hurt my enjoyment of these things. That being said, that's going to knock these down to a 6.5 out of 10. They're kind of pricey. Probably run about $75 before shipping. And you can pretty much always find a 25% off coupon code for Extreme Sets. But their shipping is not cheap either. So these things are going to be probably about $75 after a coupon code. And with that kind of price, the quality should be there. I mean, quality's there, but the way they packaged them, it caused the wall panels to curl. I don't even know why the tab ripped off. In addition to that, I accidentally ripped one of the tabs off myself, and it kind of messes up the roof piece. Yeah, it looks okay for now, but who knows what the future will hold. I bought these things for longevity, not for a one-time use. Considering these are cardboard dioramas, they come out fantastic. You can almost barely tell, and they're very durable and stable. I've actually had some get wet before, and it does kind of ruin them, but when I had a flood, I still have all the Extreme Sets from the early days. You really can't tell if I set them up. So if I go back in time, I definitely would have still purchased these things, even if I knew I was going to get them a little bit warped. But like I said, definitely detracts my enjoyment a little bit. I don't know how I'm going to figure out how to shove these into my action figure room, but I'll find a way. If there's a will, there is a way. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say with the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure and action figure diorama reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. If you want to see any of the other reviews on the Extreme Sets buildings, I think I did 3.0 through 6.0. Go ahead and check those out. So once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will talk to you guys real soon.